Did the old prophets actually meet angels on top of mountains? Or were they highly intelligent beings from a galaxy far, far away? Today, we're taking a look at 3 well-known sightings of UFOs. Because let's face it, we're not alone, and the evidence is everywhere.
In today's video, we're going to talk about the so-called zoo hypothesis. The hypothesis provides an explanation for why we've never encountered extraterrestrials in the cosmos. It all started in 1973 when MIT radio astronomer John Ball said aliens are keeping their distance and hiding from us because they don't want to intrude on our development as human beings. He added that we lived in some kind of zoo and that the aliens are observing our evolution from afar, hence zoo hypothesis. So does the evidence suggest we're just animals in a zoo? Stick around to find out. Fermi's paradox. To start with, proponents of the zoo hypothesis like to point out that it solves Fermi's paradox for us. To put it simply, Fermi's paradox concerns a question that has crossed all our minds, and that question is, since the size, depth, and age of the universe is beyond human comprehension, isn't it likely that there are a myriad of intelligent life forms in the universe that we know nothing about? Nearly 70 years ago, a physicist known as Enrico Fermi asked himself this very question. He then asked out loud, "Where is everybody?" This is something we've all thought as well. With the universe being what it is, we know we're not alone. Hence the paradox. If we're not alone, where is everybody? The interesting thing is, John Ball's view that humans are animals in a zoo tells us a different story because the whole point is, aliens are out there. They are observing us, but they are hiding and keeping their distance because they don't want to intrude. This effectively answers the paradox. Besides, if you've been following up on the UFOlogy series for a while, you'll know that the veil has slipped many times, and the evidence that aliens have interacted with Earthlings is growing all the time. It's in so much of our history that it's hard to ignore. But other physicists answer Fermi's paradox differently. Take the Russian physicist A.A. Beresin. His theory is that in the 13.8 billion years since the Big Bang, an advanced alien race traveled between stars, conquering the universe and eradicating life forms. And that's why there's nobody around. The cosmos fell victim to a psychopathic, self-destructive regime. Many have rightly pointed out that there isn't enough evidence to support this view, which is why the zoo hypothesis is revered in comparison. There's no other theory out there that answers Fermi's paradox quite like the zoo hypothesis. Messaging extraterrestrial intelligence. In 2019, the zoo hypothesis was on the news because of people engaged in an activity called messaging extraterrestrial intelligence, or METI for short. People who practice METI basically send messages out into space, hoping to get some kind of response. They work hard to figure out the right message to send out, since we don't know any alien languages. For this reason, many META practitioners have resolved to send radio signals. In 2017, an organization called METI International put together a team that transmitted a beam to a star system 12 light-years away. Despite their efforts, they got no response. According to the president of METI International, Douglas Fakoch, the zoo hypothesis offered an explanation for this. If aliens were trying to give us space to evolve, why would they respond to our messages and radio signals? At the same time, Douglas Fakoch and his counterparts around the world believe it's only a matter of time before aliens realize we're ready to get in touch with them. The more we try to reach out, the more likely they are to respond. But if they're determined to observe us from afar, as if we're in a zoo of sorts, then they wouldn't respond to our communication anyway, and that's a reality we may have to accept. Critics of the zoo hypothesis like to point out that the entire idea is predicated on the kindness of aliens. They claim that it's highly unlikely that aliens would be so kind as to secret themselves from us, so we can focus on our own problems and growth. What possible motive could aliens have by doing this? universe? And why are human beings so special as to warrant such consideration for more technologically advanced beings? Critics of the zoo hypothesis also point out that the idea is untestable, so there's no way to know for sure whether it's real or not. In other words, if it's real, then the only way to prove that would be to make contact with aliens. So apart from assuming the logic and psychology of aliens, it's difficult to test whether or not the zoo hypothesis is true. But in John Ball's own words, the zoo hypothesis seems to me to be pessimistic and psychologically unpleasant. It would be more pleasant to believe that they want to talk with us, or that they would want to talk with us if they knew that we are here. However, the history of science contains numerous examples of psychologically unpleasant hypotheses that turned out to be correct. The Great Filter, an alternative theory. In 1996, a research associate at Oxford University's Future of Humanity Institution called Robin Hanson argued that something in the universe stops life forms from evolving beyond a certain stage, and that's why it seems like we're alone in the universe. He created an evolutionary path that all life forms must undergo before they can begin to expand in the cosmos. The path begins with the right star system, which includes a habitable planet like ours. Then, there would have to be reproductive molecules, single-cell life, and multicell. Of course, aliens would have to procreate to populate their planet. At the same time, they would have to develop intelligence, starting with using tools, before learning how to develop their own. Human beings have gone through all steps of the evolutionary path, except for step number 9, which is the final step. And that step is space colonization. And since we haven't ever been contacted by aliens, it's fair to assume that most alien civilizations also lack the technology to explore space. Another way to look at it is life forms invariably destroy themselves before they can reach that level of technological advancement. That's why believers of the Great Filter live in fear that the human race will destroy itself before we can properly explore the cosmos. That also explains why we haven't detected aliens in the universe. If there was ever an advanced world like ours, the inhabitants of it likely caused their own destruction. So which theory is more likely? Are aliens watching us as if we are animals in a zoo? Or are we doomed to destroy ourselves before achieving space colonization? To be fair, another rationale for the zoo hypothesis is that aliens are keeping their distance for their own safety. Over the centuries, we humans haven't necessarily shown that we are a peaceful or open species. So why would aliens want to initiate contact with us? In reality, all these theories can't be correct, but we know that we'll get to the bottom of things sooner rather than later. Until such a time arrives, we're curious to know what you think. Comment below if you believe in the zoo hypothesis and tell us why. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching this episode of UFOlogy. See you in the next one.